Okay, so before we get started, I was looking at my channel numbers and I noticed that 80% of the people who are watching are not subscribed. I feel like that's really high and a lot higher than I want it to be. So if you like this video or any of the stuff I do, please consider subscribing. I'm also really close to 1,000 subs and I just want to get there already. Anyways, topic of the day is the NHL playoff format. For those of you who don't know, the NHL is moving forward with the 24 team bracket. Basically, the top four seeds of each conference will be getting a bye for what they're calling the play-in round, which are played with the teams that are seeds 5 through 12. It's a best out of 5. And then after the play-in round, that eliminates 8 teams, and then it would be the traditional 16-team best out of 7 Stanley Cup playoffs the rest of the way. At the end of the day, the bottom line is I am extremely thankful that we are getting something. There will be a 2020 Stanley Cup winner, and I'm just happy they were able to figure out a way to do it. And, after months with no hockey, this is going to be awesome. But it's definitely not perfect, and I do have thoughts on that. For one thing, I feel weird about just jumping directly into the playoffs. Because rust is going to be a huge thing. I mean, these guys have been out of the game for months, and to just kind of be thrown into the fire with probably what's only going to be a couple of weeks of practice to prepare, that's going to be hard. Especially with the Bruins, a lot of their key players are older, and I think there's a possibility that they come back and they need a couple games to get their legs under them and just get back in the swing of things. And that's hard to do when, as soon as you come back, every game matters, which is what's going to happen. I do think to a degree that younger teams have an advantage because I feel like they are more likely to just kind of get on the ice and they're able to hit 100 miles an hour right off the bat because they are younger, more agile, they have that energy. And it's just easier to do when you're younger rather than a player who's older, and the Bruins aren't the only team who this may affect, but it is a possibility. And it makes me a little bit nervous. But there's a flip side to that where, yes, some of their key players are on the older side, but also that veteran leadership, that should help in a situation like this. Especially when it's a situation where nobody's experienced it before. Having that leadership can definitely help the young guys, and definitely with the position they're in, considering what happened last year, they're definitely going to be hungry. They're going to be mad. They're going to be, I hope, wanting to get back to where they were and to actually finish it off this time. So there is more of an incentive because they got so close last year and they ended up failing. And that hurts, and you want to change that. But I know for a fact that there will be a top-seeded team that just comes out rusty, and they're either not ready or they're not, fit enough. They're not in good shape, whatever. And they're going to get bounced in the first round. I know it's going to happen, but it kind of is what it is. I do think this is pretty close to the best we were going to get. It was a really hard situation, and they're still trying to figure out the logistics of stuff, but I think you just kind of have to accept it. It is a little weird, though, that, the top 4 seeds from each conference, they make it. They have a bye. 5 through 12 through each conference, they're in what's called the play-in round. So are they saying that 5 through 12 technically didn't make the playoffs if they're part of the play-in round? I don't know. It's just weird that a team like, say, the Penguins, who are the 5 seed, they kind of got screwed that they have to play in the play-in round. And if they win that series, then it shouldn't be an issue. But, there's definitely going to be upsets in the play-in round. And that's going to be interesting to see. I do kind of wish it was a best out of 7 for the play-in round. Just in general, minus football, I think best of 7 is the way to do things. I don't know. It just makes the most sense to me. I don't really have a reason for it. I just think best of 5 in a lot of cases feels too short. Another big point here is, I definitely like having a bye, obviously. But it's a weird thing where any team that the Bruins play and any team that any of the top 4 seeds from each conference play, they are going to be at a slight disadvantage because the team that they are going to be playing will have already had games under their belt. Games to work out the kinks, just get their legs under them, and just kind of get back into the game flow. And the top seeds aren't going to have that benefit. The teams that they're going to be playing will have at least played 3, perhaps 5 games. And that's definitely an advantage, and that's definitely a factor here. And again, that kind of goes back to my point. It could be a pretty deadly 1-2 combo of a top team, needing to adjust, and the team they're playing coming in and being ready because they've played those games. That's a pretty gnarly double-edged sword. Not only may you need time to get adjusted, but your opponent has already adjusted. Just in general, it's really weird that bottom 10 teams are going to be in the playoffs. I admire them trying to give teams that were fighting for a playoff spot before this all started a fair chance to get in. I don't know if they needed 8 of those teams, but I'm not going to complain about more hockey. And honestly, it's going to be a little bit liberating to just kind of enjoy an entire round of Stanley Cup playoffs, like not having to worry about anything. And just watching to see who the Bruins are going to play. I saw a good amount of people say that whoever wins this year is going to have an asterisk next to that championship. I think that's stupid. That whole argument of, this wasn't a normal season, so it doesn't count. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, at the end of the day, they're going to have to win. Whoever wins the Stanley Cup is going to have to win at least 16 games. It may be one of the play-in teams, so they may have to win 19. So I don't see, and it's never easy, right? There's always challenges. That's hard. It's hard to win a title, and it's a level playing field. The only advantage a play-in team would have is that first round against a team that hasn't played yet. But it's a level playing field for everybody other than that. And I think that's fair. I just think it's stupid. Like, are we going to go back? I don't hear anybody talk about the 2013 Blackhawks and say, oh, like they didn't really earn it. They played and won it during a shortened season. Like, who cares? Everybody was playing a shortened season. Like, why does that matter? And, especially for that example, considering it was the Blackhawks or the Bruins that were going to win, both of those teams were powerhouses and they were likely to be there anyways. Even if it was a full season. So I think it's stupid. Also, I would actually argue the contrary. This Stanley Cup, whoever wins, that stands out. Because it's like, oh, like that team won the coronavirus year. Like they were able to come out, go directly into the playoffs and fight through that adversity and be mentally tough to overcome how difficult that is. No doubt whoever wins this year is going to be a mentally tough team. That's just a fact. And I'm not saying whoever wins this is better than a normal one, but it's definitely not worse. And I do think under these unique circumstances, this championship will stand out amongst others. I don't understand. I've seen reactions, and most of it is positive and most of it is pretty much saying what I was saying at the beginning, that they're just happy that there's going to be something. But I've also seen people say this is pathetic. They just have to cancel the season and start it up in October or whatever. And I'm just like, if you're a hockey fan, like, do you really not want a winner, of this season? Like, I don't get that, and I understand not being 100% happy with their plan and their format, but I don't understand how, even if it is a flawed, in your opinion, even if it is a flawed format, I don't get how nothing is the better alternative. That makes no sense to me. Again, bottom line, I'm happy we're getting Stanley Cup playoffs. It's my favorite playoffs, so I'm glad that we're still getting it for this season. For the Bruins, they have older players that they only have limited years left and limited runs at winning another cup. So I'm glad that they are not being robbed of that chance, because before all this happened, they were on a freaking roll. But yeah, all the logistics and all the details haven't been flattened out completely yet. But they're working towards it, and that's what their plan is. And I am very happy that we're getting it. Perfect? No. Do I completely accept it? Hell yes. I want sports back. But yeah, what do you guys think of the NHL playoff format? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you just accepting of it like me? Are you just happy that we're getting something? Comment below, let me know. As always, like and subscribe, and yeah.